Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? So we had Polygon scheduled to go again, actually, but they obviously just gave an amazing workshop. So instead, but just to keep everybody who was waiting for this, with some content, we're going to have a surprise AMA. I'm happy to take any and all questions. I am monitoring the YouTube Discord, or excuse me, the YouTube comments here. And yeah, looking forward to any questions here. I know this was very sporadic, so those who missed the AMA here and who were not prepared with any questions, no worries. But yeah, now's the time to answer any question or ask any questions in the YouTube here. And again, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody who's currently here, who's currently watching the hackathon. It's been a blast so far. We're only like 2 days in, but we're already getting a ton of great questions, a ton of people DMing me, talking about ideas, talking about this and that and the other thing. And I'm so excited for a crazy awesome hackathon here. I love how in that last Polygon workshop, he talked about Austin Griffin's Scaffold ETH, which really just goes to show how collaborative this hackathon really is, right? There's so many technologies that work so well together, so many groups and different moving parts, and it's just one of the most collaborative spaces I've ever been a part of, and it is an absolute blast. So I know it's a little ad hoc here, and it wasn't planned, but yeah, happy to take any questions for those of you who just happen to be on and happen to have seen this. So yeah, not a Polygon, not another Polygon workshop, but an AMA here. So I'm looking at the questions here, and let's just go ahead and get started. So first question is about actually submissions. How long is the video submission? You said 5 minutes. Seems short. Haha, max time. Yes, 5 minutes is the max time. Why? Because there are a lot of videos to go through. And if everyone submits a 10-minute video, you do the math, 10 times 200 or 300 or 400 or however many submissions there are. It's a lot of time. So max is 5 minutes. And the other thing is actually, when you cut it down shorter, that gives you a chance to actually get practice your elevator pitch for your protocol. If it takes longer than 5 minutes to explain your protocol, then the problem might be too complicated or something else might be going on, right? Typically, your elevator pitch, you want to be able to get definitely within an elevator ride. So this will help you practice doing that. Good question. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Hello. How do you decide what data to store on chain versus off chain? This is a fantastic question. This is a fantastic question for a ton of reasons, actually. So let's talk about data storage for a second. Okay. So first off, storing data on Ethereum or Polygon or Avalanche or really any chain is technically not a great idea, right? Why? Okay, well, we'll think of it this way. A lot of us have, personal computers, right? Or a lot of us have computers, or a lot of us store photos or something, right? These live somewhere. I know for me, my last laptop, I got so frustrated with it because I had to buy a ton of external storage because it only had 256 gigabytes of space. Now, if you think about that, I am a single person. I had a computer that had 265 gigabytes of space filled up. The Ethereum blockchain is less than a terabyte big right now. If I had to store all of my data on Ethereum, that would be maybe a third of all of Ethereum right now, and would cost me probably billions of dollars. So storing data on these smart contract platforms isn't good, right? Because it's really, really expensive to keep all that data there, right? Now, this being said, of course, we need to have our logic layer. We need to have our logic stored. We need to have our Solidity files stored on a blockchain, right? We need to do that in order to do this storage things. But if we can, we want to have as much data layer off chain as possible, and then the logic and execution layer stored on the blockchains on our smart contract platforms. That being said, we have protocols like IPFS, like Filecoin, where we can store data in these systems, which are meant to store data in a much more cost-efficient way, right? And this actually gets into a really interesting concept called state bloat. right? So Ethereum right now, it's growing at a certain pace. If you took the parameters and you took the block sizes of Ethereum, of Bitcoin, and you just bumped it up, it's going to grow substantially faster, right? It's gonna expand really, really quick, and it's going to become a much bigger and bigger chain, right? If you have a huge chain, the nodes need to update their hardware because they need to account for all the new data. So it also makes the chains much harder, and it has them bloat much quicker. So if you have a blockchain that just is 10 terabytes big, the number of people who can run a node with 10 terabytes of storage becomes smaller. If your blockchain is 100 terabytes big, the number of people who can run that hardware becomes even smaller, right? And this affects decentrality, right? The fewer people who can run the software, run the node software, the fewer people that can actually be a part of the system, the more centralized it becomes. And you've probably heard of like the Bitcoin block wars, which was like a huge issue. A huge reason for those block wars was because they were afraid of state bloat, right? They didn't want Bitcoin growing too fast, too quick. Same thing with Ethereum, right? They didn't want Ethereum growing too fast, too quick. So to answer your question, I know it's kind of the long-winded answer. How do you decide what data to store on-chain versus off-chain? Ideally, you store as much data off-chain as you can, and then you store on-chain your logic layers. Now, right now, most applications are storing all the data on-chain, right? Just because it's easier. There isn't great systems for connecting off-chain storage like Filecoin or IPFS, but they're being worked on. So, for example, NFTs are a great example of engineers coming up with a clever solution to work with off-chain data, right? An NFT image could be, or a GIF could be a ton of gigabytes of space and would be really hard to put a whole image on-chain, right? That would be really difficult. So what they did was they created this thing called token URI, right? So you build your NFT smart contract, you put it on chain, and definitely come to the NFT workshops. We have a whole bunch next week and the week after. We will go over all of this as well. But they made this thing called token URI where it points to some URL or URI technique or uniform resource indicator, on IPFS, on Filecoin, where it says, hey, that's where the image is stored. Right? So you have your on-chain smart contracts still have all the logic and stuff, but you don't have to store the image on-chain. So how do you decide where to store on-chain versus off-chain? It depends on your use case, right? Right now, if it's just storing, the balances of different addresses, okay, well, right now you might as well just store that on-chain. But if it's an image, you might need to store that off-chain. If it's like a 20 terabyte database of some, scientific research or something, well, maybe you want to look into Filecoin or IPFS or something like that, because that's going to be ridiculously expensive to put on chain, like billions or trillions of dollars to store, that much data on space, that much data on chain, and you'd have to do it over multiple blocks, and it would be a nightmare. So, excellent question. Hopefully that answers. Great question. Oh my God, I love it. Where do I register my team? We are registered, but not as a team. Just when you submit, one person from your team will submit. That's it. So you don't necessarily need to register as a team. During the midway check-in, you will need to say, hey, here's my team, and here's what we're building. So there's no official place to register as a team. Just when you submit, you'll submit, all the people who are on your team. So at submission time and the midway check-in time. So great question. I guess I'll answer this because it's funny. Patrick, it's Friday night and you're starving. What do you get for dinner? A burger. I love cheeseburgers. I absolutely love cheeseburgers. Can you guys tell from my face here? Any resources or walkthroughs for somebody trying to integrate a Ruby app with Web3? Great question. I actually don't know too much about Ruby apps. Yeah, this is a great question. I do know that a couple of faucets that I've seen are built with Ruby. I don't know too much about. I haven't worked too much with Ruby myself, so I'm actually not sure. If you find some, let us know. That'd be really cool to get some more coverage on different technologies and building dApps with them. Good question. Sorry, I don't know the answer to that. Also, am I too loud? Do I sound okay? If I sound ridiculous, let me know. Great question. Okay. My current challenge when deploying my project is to decide which ERC token to extend, since I use both ERC 721 and 1155. Is there a best practice to design architecture? Okay, good question. And the answer is it depends. And you'll find in this space a lot of answers are going to be it depends, right? So 1155, if I remember correctly, I haven't worked with 1155 in a little bit. It's like it allows your ERC 721, your NFTs to have NFTs, right, and have items and stuff. So I think the answer there is it depends, right? If you have NFTs that have NFTs, then you might want to use 1155. If you're just working on standalone NFTs, maybe it just makes sense to do the ERC 721. So that's going to be your answer there. It depends on what you want them to do, right? If you have something that has more functionality, well, great. Maybe you just want to include that, but maybe that's going to cost more gas. Maybe it's going to make it harder to maintain. Maybe it's going to make users more confused how to do it. I don't know. There's always going to be trade-offs, right? There's always going to be trade-offs with different technologies that you use, and that's kind of true with any technology at all. Very rarely there's like, hey, this one is better in every way. That rarely happens. Usually there are trade-offs. Same thing with which token standard do I use? Good question. I'm planning on working on an automatic market maker like Uniswap. How do I decide which chain to work on? Great question. Well, since you want to use, if you want to do Uniswap, well, you'd probably have to look where Uniswap is currently located, right? But again, this depends on what you want to do, right? The largest addressable market and where the most value secured right now is Ethereum, right? I think it has like 85% of the market or something like that, right? So if you want the most people and the most value, maybe you just go for Ethereum. Maybe your specific AMM is going to be, you need it to be more gas efficient and you want more people to be able to use it. Okay, well, maybe you look at a cheaper chain. Maybe you look at a Phantom, maybe you look at a Polygon, maybe you look at an Avalanche. Maybe you want the security of Ethereum still, and you know that these layer 2s exist. So maybe you choose Arbitrum or Optimism. I actually love working with Arbitrum for that reason, right? I get the security of Ethereum for cheaper, which is awesome. So it really depends on who the audience you want to work with, who do you want to work with, and what the advantages of the chains are, right? And again, it goes to the trade-offs again, right? So maybe you do work with Avalanche, right? Aave recently launched a lending and borrowing protocol on Avalanche, and I think they're at like $3 billion for value locked on their Avalanche protocol. But it's less than their 20 billion, 15 billion, whatever it is, on Ethereum mainnet, right? So you get a more performant chain, right? You get more cheaper fees, more people can use it, but there's still more people on Ethereum. So it really depends. It really depends on what you want to do. Good question. Wondering what the best approach is for an individual wanting to develop full and large-scale blockchain projects. Currently thinking white paper, website, token DAO, and advertising. Any advice? Thanks. Great question. So there's a lot to do. That's a great game plan. Every protocol is different. I think, it depends on what you want to do. You said like token/DAO. Maybe your protocol doesn't need a DAO. Maybe it doesn't need a token. In fact, I'm a big proponent of not slapping a token on a protocol if it doesn't need it, right? If you put a token on something and it doesn't need a token, that's actually going to make it more complicated or worse, or it's not going to be as effective. So it really depends on what you want to do. I think a white paper is a great starting point. Website, you definitely need. You definitely need to do advertising as well, right? Like it doesn't matter how good your protocol is if nobody knows about it, nobody's going to use it. But I think those are all good steps. I'll say another piece to put on there is make sure the Solidity contracts are solid. Because what has happened way too many times, as you've seen, is people get hacked, protocols get ruined, and that kind of it can ruin the credibility of that protocol forever, right? It doesn't matter; it become really hard to come back from that. So make sure to get audits, make sure you get peer reviews. But yeah, you touched on something really important. That advertising and marketing and working with other people in the community is really, really important in order to have your protocol, see some actual use. So, good question. The The operator UI doesn't display the jobs running, but when I check Etherscan, the execution and process UI error, depends on the node that you're working on. So this is kind of a more technical question. I would follow along with the getting help. If you go to docs.chain.link, hold on, let me share my screen here. I would go to getting help. I mean, especially for this hackathon, there are a lot of very helpful resources. Give me 1 second. Window. Boom. Yeah, come over here. Go to the getting help section. For this hackathon, there's a lot of people in the Discord, so definitely, talk in the Discord. But feel free to make a question on Stack Overflow, Stack Exchange, Ethereum. Make an issue on whatever repo you're working with. You could be working on one of the newer node versions where there is a known bug on the UIs for creating new jobs. So just make sure to ask a ton of questions. Good question. All right. 5-minute video for midway check-in or final submission. Final submission. That's it. For midway check-in, it'll be, what's your team? What's your idea? That's it. You don't need to have anything else. What's your team? What's your idea? How can you get historical data of certain coins, high and low of certain date? Great question. So once again, let me share my screen. Oops. You guys are asking the perfect questions. So there is a historical price data section in the docs. Again, docs.chain.link, where you can get historical data by round. Now, you can't get it by date. There are some historical pricing external adapters that are being worked on in historical pricing. External adapters that work really well for putting in a date and getting the price back. Now, you do have to make a request, right? You do have to follow along the basic kind of request pattern of any API for that. But what you can do too is you can get the latest. What am I trying to say? You can get the latest round ID and then iterate back, and that's going to be the easiest way for you to get previous timestamps. But yeah, if you want a specific date, you're going to have to use a Chainlink external adapter. Ping Harry in the Discord. He's made a really cool tool to actually do exactly that if you're looking for that data. Great question. All right. Thank you for being part of the community, by the way. These are all great questions. Thank everybody for being here. Great questions. My question is, what is the best practice for securing my dApp from hackers? Do you know any courses or have any resources? What a great question. It's almost like you knew I would know. Common Solidity exploits. So one of my favorite resources is this one from Consensus, actually, and I'm gonna post it in the chat here. And actually, we're coming out with a security blog as well. So the answer to this is a little bit difficult, and it's kind of the answer is the more knowledge we have, the better. I keep up to date with kind of the latest hacks that go on in this space, so I can kind of know like what are the newest exploits, because new strategies are built all the time. Hackers don't really sleep. So we saw a really interesting new one actually with Polychain a couple months ago, the Polychain hack. If you guys, if everyone here saw it, but yeah, that link of known attacks will give you like a good getting starting point, right? It'll say, hey, here's some of the known attacks, here's some. But if you look up kind of security, like Solidity security, there are a ton of resources out there. Yeah, that's definitely one of the best one. But when you go live, like when you go mainnet, when you take your protocol and say, hey, it's time to go, you definitely want to get a security audit from a reputable firm. You definitely need to get a peer review. And what those auditors will do is they will go line by line through your code looking for, any exploitable lines of code. So you want to kind of, there's a lot to keep in mind. That link that I just posted has a lot of those things, and hopefully that'll get you started. If you have any questions about specific exploits or specific things to look out for, feel free to ask. but the list is actually pretty long. So that resource will definitely get you started. Hey, Tiffy, how's it going? If you were a Dungeons and Dragons NFT, what class/race would you be? I don't know. It would change from time to time. I really like dragons, so any race that has anything to do with dragons, yeah, it changes from time to time. Any tips for solo developers on the welcome track who want to make the most of the learning experience? Yes, show up to all the workshops and do exactly what you're doing right here, which is ask questions. Ask a ton of questions. Ask a million questions. Ask 100 questions. Ask 1,000 questions. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I recently posted a tweet thread about aggressive curiosity. Be aggressively curious. Don't be afraid to look stupid, right? There's 80% of the people here are either new to blockchain or know very little, right? Ask questions. Don't be afraid to be knowledge shamed. People shouldn't knowledge shame you. Ask questions, right? You're not an imposter. You're welcome to the community. You're welcome to be here. We're excited that you're here. And be aggressively curious, right? Be resourceful, right? There's a question that you have. There's likely an answer out there somewhere, right? Ask questions. Do a lot of Google searching. Do a lot of reading. But definitely come to those workshops. Those workshops, we're literally going to take you step by step on how to build everything. And we've got a ton of educational sources coming out next week. This coming week, Chainshot, Eat the Blocks courses are going out. I'm also gonna go to camp Solidity. I'm also going to shill my recent tutorial that I put out. If you guys want, if everyone here wants to see this, I'm going to post this in the chat. Whoops. This is it's a 16-hour video, which seems like a long time, but if you go through it, you will have literally all the tools at your disposal for the space. So that's another workshop you can take. But yeah, definitely come to the workshops and ask a lot of questions. We're going to give you the code on how to do all this stuff. We're going to give you all the pieces. And then if you work with those, if you tweak those, if you take those workshops and you go through those code and you ask us questions about that, we built it so we can help you, along the way and say, oh, here's why we did this, or here's why this looks like this, etc. So that's going to be the best way do this. And don't be afraid to submit and push forward, right? This hackathon only goes for another, 35 days or something like that. Don't be afraid to push through and 100% submit something. Make the commitment now that at the end of this hackathon, you're going to submit something, right? Because that'll put the pressure on you to really learn something, because it's like, hey, I only have 30 days to put something forward. So put that little mental pressure on yourself, and that'll accelerate how quickly you learn, because you'll have a deadline. Deadlines are important. Deadlines are great. Great question. After hearing the Polygon Live, do you think more than 50% of Chainlink development will go that direction soon? I have no idea. No idea. Polygon's a great chain, a great layer 2. I cannot predict the future. Sorry. I think there are advantages and disadvantages all over the place. Good morning. We need business advice, especially to build our tokenomics. Do you know where to find advisors for this? Great question. So I would say start in the Discord, start in the Chainlink Discord, start asking and looking for teammates and look for team members who can help you on here. So tokenomics are a bit interesting. I don't think there's any expert tokenomicers out there, but this is a great example of how more than just engineers can be a part of a hackathon team, right? If you have somebody who's an expert in economics, maybe they are going to be a great resource to build those token economics for you. Great question. Newbie in the blockchain trying to decide on which chain to develop an NFT project for the hackathon. What is your opinion on Ethereum, Binance, Polygon, Solana, et cetera, in terms of ease of development? Okay, great question. The short answer is use whatever chain you want to use, which is a bad answer, I know. For those chains in particular, I'll say that there's definitely a huge difference between Ethereum, Polygon, and Binance and Solana. So Ethereum, Polygon, and Binance are what's called EVM compatible chains. So it's going to work with Solidity, it's going to work with Hardhat, it's going to work with Truffle, it's going to work with Brownie, etc. If you're familiar with those tools and you like those chains, those are the ones that you can work on. And my camera has overheated, so it's going to shut off on me in a second. Sorry about that. Let me put up. Let me put Oh no, you guys couldn't hear me. Oh no, I'm so sorry. How long was I going for? I was going for like a whole bunch of minutes. Sorry about that, team. um, yeah, I just ruined everything. So, are there any vulnerability scanners to help with the security of smart contracts? Um, wow, I just talked for so long, and everyone stayed here. Wow, thanks for staying here and listening to absolutely nothing. So about 3 to 5 minutes of nothing. Whoops. All right, does my camera work now? I took it off because my camera like overheated. Well, this is gonna be great on YouTube. Just a solid. Oh, hi guys. Hi everybody. My camera overheated. Sorry about that. We're back. Slither. Check out Slither. It's a static analyzer for smart. I just talked a whole bunch of nothing for 10 minutes. I'm so sorry. It's Slither. Check out Slither. It's a static analyzer for Solidity. It's really cool. It's really good. And it can help check for these vulnerabilities. I was saying, while I was talking to nobody for 5 to 10 minutes, that I'm really looking forward to when like an AI tool comes out for checking for security vulnerabilities. I think that'll be really badass, and anybody who wants to make that during this hackathon would be great. So sorry. Let me catch up on some of these comments now. Reason for being hacked: temperature. Patrick went to get some milk. Sorry about that. Just like my dad. Am I the old man? I'm definitely not the old man. Patrick, we can't hear you. Patrick, microphone temperature. No audio. Hack. No audio. Patrick, we can't hear you. Sorry. I'm catching up on the comments. Thank you, everybody, for calling me out. I told you Patrick went to get some milk. Too funny. Question, Patrick, we can't hear you. What site do we cease that question? Okay, no audio. Well, this is inconvenient. Yep. Sorry. Patrick talking to his imaginary YouTube friends, not us. Yeah, sorry. Oh, wait, want to learn. Excellent. Check the Discord, having a LAN party. Oh my gosh, some of you guys are brutal in here. I'm not putting that on the screen. And we're back. Haha. Patrick noticed us. Okay, all right. I'm here. Any other questions? So I can't scroll back and stream or to see questions from before. So if there's any new questions, feel free to put them on. Okay, cool. We're back. How does a great blockchain resume look to you? Great question. This hackathon is how you do that. Seriously. The number of people that Chainlink Labs has hired and other protocols have hired from hackathons is astonishing. Right? These are the chances to build your resume, to put something on there. So especially for engineers, it's going to be your GitHub repository and the different things that you work on. Right? So when I'm looking at blockchain engineers, I look at their GitHub. I look, okay, what have they worked on, or their or whatever coding repository that they use, maybe GitLab or Bitbucket or whatever, because that's going to show what they're working on, especially in blockchain, which is such an open source, decentralized community. Sometimes I'll look at what protocols they're working on, or what DAOs they're involved with, or what protocols have they worked on before. So for those who are just getting started, I would say doing the hackathons like this is exactly what you should be doing. You're doing the exact right thing being at this hackathon, because this is, people look at what you do and what you've done. So, if you work at a blockchain protocol beforehand, great. But yeah, typically, I'll look at kind of the GitHubs and what protocols they're working with, and that's what I look for. When I'm hiring developer advocates or looking for developer advocates, I do a little bit more. I look for people who are writing blogs about Solidity or smart contracts or Rust or whatever. But for engineers, it's really GitHub and kind of showing the work that you've done. Now, for non-developers, because I know some of them are out there, it's going to be your experience with whatever field you're good at in the context of blockchain. So maybe you're excellent at sales. Maybe you've done sales on a protocol, or you've done advertising for a protocol, or you really understand the blockchain ecosystem. Again, there are jobs for really every job in the blockchain world. So, but that's for a blockchain engineer. It's really your GitHub, the protocols that you've worked on, and the quality of your code, and the different tools that you work on, like Hardhat, Truffle, Brownie, etc. How to integrate IoT sensor to Chainlink? So I already answered this. Good question, Martin. I'm designing an NFT game with a front end. Do I need to build all the game logic on smart contracts so that my front end does not get exploited? Yes. Yep. Full stop. Answer is yes. Front end is kind of just is on top of your blockchain smart contract backend. So yes, you do need to do everything in the smart contract. About 10 minutes. Thank you again, everybody, for calling me out and being like, hey, man, nobody can hear you. Appreciate that. Thanks all for sticking around even when I was talking to nobody. What is the best decentralized exchange to build on currently that is compliant with US regulations? I know 1inch is making a pro version soon. I'm actually not sure. I actually don't know. I would say right now you build on whatever you're familiar with, whatever you like. I'm not sure. Good question. How do I find an internship to work as a Solidity developer? This is a great question. And the reason this is such a great question is because the blockchain world is very different from the traditional world, right? You can get internships, with a Chainlink Labs or a Compound Labs or, whatever the team behind Uniswap is. You can absolutely do that, right? I'm not sure how available they are. But I'll say this: when people say, "Hey, I'm looking for an internship with Chainlink Labs," I usually say, "This is it. You're here. It's the hackathon. That's going to be the internship, right? Going to these workshops and interacting with the community is literally, probably as good, if not better, than an internship, right? Internships, we commonly think of like, oh, internship, you're getting coffee for the boss or whatever, which is obviously a really bad internship, but for these hackathons, you get to work on whatever you want to work on, and you get to interact with, the most experienced people in the space to get that, right? To build that, to do that. And you're going to learn so much faster working on something that you're excited about and that you're amped up about. That experience, in my mind, is way better, if not as good, as an internship, right? If you get a prize in a hackathon, even if you don't get a prize in a hackathon, if you do, if you get some GitHub repository up, if you get some project up, that itself, that experience, that project on your resume is going to be way better than you being a pencil pusher or pencil pusher is the wrong term, a coffee getter at some company or protocol. So this is your internship right here. This is how you do it. You're in the right spot. Great question. How long did it take you to learn a program on the blockchain? Awesome question. It took me a while, actually. So my first jump into Solidity into blockchain was actually at ETH Denver 2019. So it took me a while, actually, and I'm still learning every day, right? It doesn't stop. It doesn't like, hey, you're now amazing at everything Solidity, right? New things are happening all the time, and which is another reason why I love this space, right? We're doing a DAO workshop in a couple weeks, and I only really knew all the stuff about DAOs, a couple months ago, right? Because the DAO ecosystem has grown, and the governance ecosystem has grown, and the tools and the strategies has changed so much, right? Maker was kind of this original DAO, right? The Maker DAO, the protocol behind the Ide token, was one of the original DAOs, and the current governance systems look totally different from what Maker was doing. So things are constantly changing, and it's an absolute blast, and you can always learn more. You can always catch up. And it's so much fun. But yeah, to kind of get my feet under me, if you will, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, but it also depends on kind of where you started from. So a lot of the tooling is in JavaScript right now, like Hardhat and Truffle. I was not a JavaScript developer coming into the space. I code a lot of it now because it's what everybody uses. But I used a lot of Python, and the Python tooling was a lot more immature than it is now. Like Brownie is, a lot better, and I absolutely love it. Like I love Brownie, but it was a little bit harder for me because I had to learn JavaScript as well. But a lot of the educational resources were different and some were outdated. But for those of you, you could learn in 16 hours, again, because of that Free Code Camp video that we recently put out, which is really, really freaking good. Surprisingly enough, you learn to learn faster. I also learn a lot faster now than I used to because I use all the tools. I'm better at using all the tools now, right? I'm better at interacting with the community. I'm better at asking Stack Overflow and Stack Exchange Ethereum questions. I'm better at jumping on forums. I'm better at, weirdly enough, learning how to learn is a skill. And we have a getting help page, getting support. And this is literally, I'm posting it in the chat here. This is literally the mental roadmap I take whenever I want to learn something. Okay. Something I don't know. First thing I do is Google it. Okay. Nothing shows up. Okay. Maybe I'll make an issue on Stack Overflow or Stack Exchange. Maybe I'll jump into the Discord. Maybe I'll jump on a forum. Maybe I do need to take a course. I'll look for a YouTube video. I've taken Udemy courses. There's all these different places to go. Right now, there's so much for free. That's good, which is really good. But yeah, again, gonna shield myself a little bit. Look up Free Code Camp Solidity. We recently put out a 16-hour long video, which goes through like everything. It is amazing how much we packed in 16 hours. And if it takes you a few months to go through it, that's good. If you sit down for 16 hours straight and watch the whole thing, I promise you won't learn a dang thing, right? You gotta pace yourself. Maybe do 25 minutes a day, right? Learn, digest that information. But yeah, so that's the answer there. I believe you're about to tell us the difference. Oh my gosh, yeah, between Ethereum, Polygon, Binance versus Solana, and your camera overheated. What are the main differences? Yes, I gave a long rant about this, and nobody heard it. So the differences: Ethereum, Binance, Polygon, they're all EVM compatible. Solidity works with them. Solana is not. Solana is Rust. So that's your first difference there. If you like EVM stuff, if you've worked with EVM, great. Maybe that's your approach. If you know Rust, great. Maybe that's your approach. Each of these chains are a little bit different in performance. Solana is very fast. There's a lot of updates. Maybe you like that. Maybe you want to work with Solana. The hardware requirements of Solana are a lot bigger, right? And maybe you want to run a node too. So maybe you say, I want to run an Ethereum node because the hardware requirements are a lot less. Maybe you're looking for the most value secured. So maybe you look at Ethereum. Maybe you want something with really low gas fees. So maybe you look at Polygon or Binance Smart Chain, right? So there are all these trade-offs, right? Each one of them is a little bit different. And depending on what you want to do, what you want your protocol to look like, that's going to govern where you go. So they each have their differences. But yeah, those are kind of some of the big differences, right? Ethereum, probably the biggest, is the most decentralized out of all of those, right? It has the most value secure. It has the most users. So that's something to keep in mind. Gas fees are expensive on Ethereum. So maybe gas fees are a huge issue. So you look at Polygon, you look at Binance. They're also EVM compatible. But gas fees are a lot cheaper. Solana, maybe you want to kind of look in a totally different direction and try out Solana, which is a brand kind of new look at smart contracts. They use programs and accounts, and they're very fast, but they're also very gas efficient. So there are all these things to think about when looking at these chains, and those are kind of the main differences. I want to make a DAO for the future, but I want to make a DeFi app for Hack. Any recommended sources for yield farming? So yield farming is kind of outside of building a DeFi application, right? So you yield farm DeFi apps. We do have a really good DeFi workshop coming up, and we've got the code and the videos are actually already out if you want to go check them ahead of time. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure you want to build a DeFi app for the Hack, but you want to yield farm. I mean, if you want to yield farm, I would look at things like Zapper.fi, which has a lot of really cool resources on the different yield farm opportunities. Yearn.finance is a great yield aggregator, which is really cool. If you want to just not even think about it and just use Yearn.finance, that's great. But if you want to build something, you got to kind of take all this into consideration too. Not exactly sure if that answered your question, but yeah. 8-bit, welcome back. Glad to see that you're with it. How much time does running a node take in your day-to-day upkeep once you get the node up and running? Oh, great question. Not too much time, but it depends. So I have a lot of things that I need to do when I run Chainlink nodes. I need to add new configs all the time, update all the time. But still, it's maybe 10, 15 hours a week. But you also have to be on call at all times. So the actual work isn't that much, but sometimes you have to wake up at 3 a.m. when something's wrong and go fix it. So the actual amount of time isn't that much, but you're always on. And that's the real challenge of running the Chainlink node is that always onness, right? Because if you go down for 20 minutes, you have $60 billion riding on whether or not you can wake up on time. So the actual time isn't that much. Maybe 10 to 15 hours a week, but it's the always on. That's the hard part. What would be the best way to have private data only accessible by the owner of the contract? I'm asking because some use cases for entities could use this, maybe Oasis protocol. Great question. It depends on what you mean by private data. If you mean private data in the sense that nobody else can read it, technically there is no private, nothing is private on Ethereum. Surprise, surprise. Engineers can read storage of any smart contract at any location, right? So if you have private data, it doesn't matter, right? So I would say my first piece of advice would be don't do that. Don't put private data on the blockchain. That would be my first. Yeah, that would be my first. Second thing, you could do things like you can encrypt the data. You could do like a commit reveal type thing. That's a longer answer. I would actually love to see this as a Stack Overflow or Stack Exchange question, and then drop the link into the Discord, right? Because my initial answer is basically don't do that. My second answer is like encrypt it. Yeah, that's a longer question. Okay, whoa, a lot of questions here. All right, we got maybe 7 minutes. Maybe we'll go a couple minutes over if I can't get to everything. Do certificates in blockchain matter? I'd like to switch from a traditional web dev to Web3 space, but from what you're saying, just building a portfolio is the way to go. Yes, so they do matter. And I love like Consensus Bootcamp is awesome. The Chainshot Bootcamp is Eat the Blocks, DApp University, all these educators in this space, they have great bootcamps and certificates. But I would say your number one best piece of resume builder is what you're doing right here. And that's why I always say, make the commitment now to submit something, right? To get something, to put it on your resume, to be like, hey, this was my project for the Chainlink Hackathon. 100% it's going to be the projects that you built, the resume builder. Great question. When do you think you're ready to look for a job? Been developing for a few months, have some projects, but still feel like there's so much to learn, especially with future scaling solutions. The thing is, there's always going to be a ton, right? And especially right now, when the knowledge is so kind of all over the place, I would say just always, right? If you want to start applying for jobs now, like do it. And then just keep building as you're applying for jobs, right? So building, having your resume builder, at these hackathons for these events, building these GitHub repositories and looking for jobs at the same time, you can absolutely do. So I think now, no time like the present, right? I haven't participated in a team so far. Could I do that now, or the teams are closed? You can jump into the Find Teammates channel of the Discord and find a team. So no, teams are not closed. You can absolutely join a team, make a team, whatever you want to do. What IDE should I use with Solidity? I am used to Visual Studio with C#. Visual Studio code works great. I don't know if Visual Studio, we saw right before this with Polygon, he was using Sublime. Sublime works great. Atom works great. Really, any of the most popular ones I know are great. I'm sure some of the other ones are good too. Even if you want to just use Remix, they're all good. Oh, that's not a question. Okay, how do I go from smart contract developer to smart contract auditor? Get really good at smart contract developing. That's how you do it. Get really good at it. Do a lot of research on the most current hacks. So rect.news. I'll put that in the chat. It's one of my favorite. One of my favorite sites. Has some really good write-ups on different hacks. Put that in here. Rec.news is really good. Another one I follow is Security Threat Intelligence. They have some really good write-ups on different hacks and threats in the space. So learn a lot of that stuff and just keep learning, right? Keep learning. Something that I've done before, which I think is really cool, is I look at a smart contract that I know has been audited. I try to audit it myself, and then I go see what other people have audited with. So that's really interesting too. Go to Open Zeppelin workshops. They are phenomenal. Open Zeppelin is a beast at auditing and smart contract stuff. What are your views on Web 2 and Web 3 coexisting and complementing each other? Pretty general question here. Web 2 and Web 3, they definitely will, coexist, right? Web 2 is kind of this information age, and Web 3 is the information age plus a decentralized finance and decentralized agreements with each other. They have to, right? You go to a website, that's a Web 2 convention, period. And the website, the front end connects you to your Web 3 backend. So they pretty much have to coexist. and they definitely complement each other, 100%. Hopefully that was a general enough answer to the general question. Do you know if there's research on smart contracts and machine learning? Definitely research on smart contracts. There's definitely research on machine learning. Is there research on the two? Probably. I don't know where, but there probably is. But something that I think is really cool is like you could have your machine learning algorithm run off chain, Chainlink node in the middle that delivers the results of that machine learning algorithm on chain. Boom. Now you have all the benefits of machine learning in a smart contract. So I know that's kind of a vague answer right now too. I don't know where exactly to look, but you go to the Smart Contract Research Forum, which might be a cool place to kind of talk about this. And I would love to see more work in this as well. I'm eager to begin this hackathon. Excellent. Well, it has begun. Build. You can also use Truffle or Bounty. Yes. If a protocol is not officially integrated with Chainlink, could it be, I'm assuming you mean used in this hackathon. Could it be for this hackathon? Could it be for this hackathon? I don't know what you mean, but yes. Why? Well, Chainlink is blockchain agnostic. And you can actually customize it to work with any chain with initiators and external adapters. We don't have any workshops for this hackathon on how to do that. But if you want to build something like that, you absolutely, it can work. And you can do it with, any chain. So official integrations are interesting because technically Chainlink is already is pseudo-officially integrated with every chain, right? There might not be, the professional node operators on the different chains and stuff. But you can have Chainlink work with any chain. Is Viper worth considering, or has Solidity stolen the show? Awesome question. So I know a lot of the Viper team because I love Python, like I said, and they love working with Viper, right? There is a really nice. There's something just really nice about having all your methods and all your things very Pythonic, right? Because it's much easier to audit. I think it's much easier to read. But some of the tooling I would say is a little bit behind, right? So I get very frustrated. I talk about dynamic arrays are not in Viper right now. So if you want to make a dynamic array, you need to make an array. And if you want to change the size, you have to get rid of that array and create a new array that's longer, which is really annoying. But like Curve, Convex, Yearn, they all use Viper, and those are billion-dollar protocols. So Solidity is definitely probably 95% of DeFi applications. But Viper, it really depends on what you like to use. The Viper team is awesome too. They are, they love Python and they hate JavaScript. I also hate JavaScript, but I code a lot of Solidity because that's kind of the dominant language. So I would say it's definitely worth considering, right? The other thing is actually that's kind of cool is it does make it harder to fork, because fewer people know Viper, right? So maybe that's something you're thinking about. You do get to kind of be a part of this more niche community when you learn Viper, because there's so fewer people who work with it. Interestingly enough, here's some history. The original ETH2 staking contract was written in Viper, right? I think, don't quote me on this, but I think Vitalik actually wrote the original one in Viper. Don't quote me on this. But I would say, yes, absolutely. Viper is worth considering. Can dApp UI be built with Django Flash fast without needing to work with React or Node.js? Yes. Yeah. 100%. You might find it easier to work with React and Node.js, but yeah, you can use all the Python tools. Yep. What is your smart what's up, Colin? What is your smart contract workflow? Pseudocode test for every complete function you write. Good question. And I know we're at time here, but I'm happy to go a few minutes over because I know we still have some questions in the chat. What is your smart contract workflow? Pseudocode, test for every complete function you write. Typically, I usually, you'll actually see this in some of my the workshops I give, is I'll make comments on a README, or sometimes I even make a .notes file, .notes.md, and I'll just say here's what I want to do, and I'll kind of plan out the general architecture. I know there's some people that really like TDD, test-driven development, where they write the tests of what they want the smart contract to do, and then they write the functionality to complete the tests, which I think is a really interesting way, especially in blockchain, of doing it in a really good way. But yeah, typically I'll do the the architecture, and then I'll start writing some functionality. And then for every method that I create, I'll make a test for it, or that's what I should do. But yeah, typically every method that I make in Solidity, I'll write a test for it just to make sure it works, and then I'll run the test, right? And I do everything locally. So everything on a hard hat or Ganache chain before I do a testnet. You are going to be phenomenally faster if you do your development like that. Do everything locally before you go to a testnet. And then I write every test, and then after I feel good about the contract, then I'll go to audit, then I'll go to peer review, and then launch. Good question. And my camera's heating up again. Bye. I feel like maybe I need like a fan on this. Let me do. I'm not going to remove myself. Don't worry. I'm going to keep myself on, but I'm just going to put this up. I'm going to put this up as well, just so that it's we're good here. I want my smart contract development to go as smooth as possible. Any tips? Yep, do exactly what I just said. You can spend 16 hours just debugging your front end of his course. Oof, shots. Oh, shots fired. Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Albert. Yeah, definitely check it out. Yeah, we'll go for maybe another 7 minutes here. Then we'll jump off. When is Chainlink external API support for coming for Solana? Sooner than you think, but not as quick as you like. Sorry. Sorry. Wait, what is this? Is this what I want? No, I want this. Oh no, I got rid of it. We'll do the stream loop. Sorry. Once my camera unheats up, we'll put me back on. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's being worked on. If you want to work with price feeds right now, that is up and ready to go. How does testnet support their transaction, as there are no fees and no gas payments? Great question. It is volunteer based. Awesome question. It is something I'm fighting with right now. I'm fighting to get Rinkby Faucet working, and I'm trying to chat with the Rinkby peeps to get it back up, because yeah, right now it's volunteer based. And that's why you should never do any real money or anything with Rinkby, because yeah, it's no bueno. Oh, do I have to keep doing this loop here? I guess I got to keep doing this loop. Oh, that's kind of annoying. Can Chainlink Node be run on cloud platforms like Azure or GCP? Yes. In fact, we have some workshops doing that. All right, I'm going to try to speed through the rest of these questions. Do we have something like the graph in Chainlink for indexing blockchain and providing data? Yes, you can connect the graph to Chainlink and then get your graph data put into your smart contracts. I think there's somebody built a Chainlink graph once, which was really cool. You definitely should check it out. If it doesn't work, build one for this hackathon. When will we have access to the ChainShop Bootcamp? Next week. I'm in the process for look at this. Look at the speed answering session. Come on. I gotta keep clicking the button. I'm in the process of developing my own smart contract for my friend's NFT project. Looking forward to beginning this as I experience trading bots. Oh, that's not a question. Okay, cool. Hey, that's awesome though. Do you think with past experience I could have a leg up on the hackathon and hopefully a career with Chainlink? Probably. Any ideas for a beginner project? I'm thinking about creating a resume smart contract which would store my skills, workplaces, etc., and then building a front end React. Any other ideas? That is an awesome idea. You absolutely should do that. Yes, please. 100%. And I gotta rerun this thing because I don't know how to make it loop. Does a solo project look better on a resume than a team project? No. Sometimes team projects actually look better, right? Because you're going to be able to build more, do more, and make a super sick project with a team. So I wouldn't say that one looks better than the other. Really can't choose between Solana, Ethereum, blockchain for my project. Do I get different prize pools using one another, or projects on Solana, Ethereum will be judged equally? What an amazing question. Is my camera working now? Well, let's find out. Do I get different prize pools? Yes, check out the dev post for the different prize pools. They are definitely different. They are definitely not the same. And it really just depends on what you want to use. So, I mean, you can still apply for the grand prize, the runner-up prize, and all that stuff as long as you use Chainlink. So it's really whatever you want to use. Best way to integrate Web3 with no code frontman such as Webflow. Morales looks pretty doable. Trying not to learn React. Morales, you will have to do some type of front-end code. There are some cool things like one-click DApp you can check out that are pretty cool. Let me put the one-click DApp. One-clickdapp.com. Is this it? Yes. Put this in the chat. Oneclickdapp.com is really cool. Check it out. You know of any resources for, look at how fast I'm going. Do you know any resources for splitting up a really complicated NFT/functionality into multiple contracts that work together? Ah, yes, I do. This Diamond Standard or multifaceted proxy, something like that. So that's standard. It's still being worked on, but something along those lines. I know this isn't a very thorough answer, but you can check that out. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll just, in my code, I'll have an NFT project that, just points to other contracts that I make. So yes. Is there a type of contract that you can lend an NFT to someone and then get it back after some time? Yes, there are a couple protocols working on this, like re-NFT, where they like rent out NFTs. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. And if that's something you want to do for this hackathon, you should. Great question. You mentioned some research 2 minutes ago. What was it regarding research on smart contracts? Smart contract research forum. Look up Google smart contract research forum and you will find it. Is it possible to have a website entirely powered by Web3 tech? ENS front-end for resource, IPFS backend on-chain. Yes. Fleek, something you should look into. Fleek is I believe it's an IPFS powered front-end. Very cool. If you want to have your website do some dynamic stuff, yeah, I mean, you still will have some Web2 tech, like you still have servers and stuff that need to like connect to each other and DNS and stuff, but almost entirely powered by Web3 tech. Yes. And do you know about Filecoin? It is not permanent file storage, so I can't get point of it. It is better to use permanent file storage for projects if they're on blockchain. Amazing question. This goes back to state bloat. So Solana actually is an interesting blockchain to think about when it comes to this, actually, because they have a concept called like time to live or something like that. I forget what it actually is called, where the blockchain, the programs or smart contracts get deleted after a certain amount of time. And this is to reduce that state bloat, right? To reduce what I was saying, the blockchain is getting so big that they become unusable. Like I said, Bitcoin is like 400, 500 gigabytes, 380, I forget. Ethereum's like 700, 800 gigabytes, something like that. The more data that's able to be stored in the blockchain, the bigger it gets and the harder it is to run a node because it's going to take more and more space. So Filecoin is storage, but you pay to keep it up, right? So you can store terabytes of data, or well, maybe not terabytes, but a lot more data because it's not going to be there permanently. And it is decentralized still. So it's decentralized data that isn't there forever. So you're saying, I don't get the point of it. Permanent file storage is better, but permanent file storage is much more expensive. So if you want decentralized data storage that is much cheaper, that's going to be where Filecoin comes in. And that's actually how data should be stored, right? Because it's really hard to store unlimited data forever, right? And even on Ethereum mainnet, there are a ton of contracts on there that are never going to be used again, right? And they're just taking up space that other nodes have to have. So that's what the purpose of Filecoin, and it is really important. We're talking about decentralized file storage a lot. I forget what it's called though. Filecoin, yep, or IPFS. Couple questions here. IDK, I just got there a minute ago. I heard him talk about it in his YouTube video. He what's it called? Generating dynamic MSCs, blah blah blah. Yeah, we used IPFS. Yep. Thanks. Let's buy Patrick a new camera with the money from prizes. You guys are too sweet. Thanks for the kind words, everybody. I really appreciate it. I'm just trying to make your lives easier. Is VRF coming to Polygon? If so, is it coming anytime? It's already there. Check the docs. Docs.chain.link. It's already there. I have a question. Is live update of items possible on any blockchain? Could you extrapolate? We didn't hear your answer to the question. Oh, you didn't hear that. External adapters. Go to docs.chain.link, scroll down to any API. We have a workshop next week or in 2 weeks working with external adapters. 100% go to that. that will teach you how to work with IoT data. Basically, you make an HTTP endpoint with your IoT data, deliver it to a Chainlink node, put it on chain, boom, you're good to go. API calls allow only 32 byte data. If one of call in one request is possible to increase to 64 bytes. Go to docs.chain.link and scroll down to large requests or multi-word responses. It's actually any size now. So great question. Is there a place to view the prize distribution? Wow. Yes, indeed there is. Let me show you where it is. Go to hack.chain.link. Fall Hackathon 2021 dev post. Let me share my screen here. So if you go here, you scroll down to prizes. Boom, everything's here. I'll put this in the chat. And we'll put this on the hack.chain.link website soon. You can see all the prizes there. And I'm already over time. We'll go 2 more minutes. I'm going to speed through these questions. And is that kind of dynamic NFT development only on one specific blockchain? No. Any EVM compatible chain works. How many participants I've signed up till now for the hackathon? About 6,000 and counting. Is there a way to trigger smart contract function based on a certain date with the trigger being inside the smart? Yes, there is. Chainlink keepers. Look up Chainlink keepers, docs.chain.link, scroll down the keepers, boom. Patrick, is the decision to use Python for the... Oh, I'm almost there. I'm almost at all the comments. Decision to use Python for the free code camp video. Why the decision? Excuse me. Isn't JS more popular in the Web3 space? I actually prefer Python just in general, and I think it's a lot easier for new engineers to learn. And I think it makes more sense for doing smart contract development. So it was a personal choice. I am working on a JavaScript edition as well. I've said that way too many times, but I'm not saying an ETA. So JS probably is like 80% of the space. Python's another 20%. So, I mean, Brownie is still used by a ton of massive protocols like Yearn, Curve, Badger DAO, Alpha Homora. They use Brownie, they use Python, and it is still really popular. And traditional fintech, you would never catch a quant hedge fund caught dead like using JavaScript as their language of choice, right? It just doesn't happen. So classic fintech uses Python. In my mind, DeFi will probably transition to more Pythonic as well, just because of the tools and the ease of use and the data available and the tool availability. But that's just my personal preference. So yeah, right now JS is more popular. I chose Python because I think it's easier. I like it more, but I am working on a JS edition as well. Whoops. Oh, I lost my point. Can you do more tutorials with real projects with Brownie, Python frontends like Flask, etc.? I'll do my best. What do you think about Arweave for permanent data storage? Yeah, I checked out Arweave. I haven't worked with it enough. I've been more successful with IPFS and Filecoin, but I had a Twitter chat with the Arweave CEO. I definitely think it's a cool solution, and yeah, I'm excited to see what their tooling comes out with next. Is live update of items possible on any blockchain, like updating items in a store being displayed on a customer's in a dApp? Yes. Yeah, I mean, you just change state, right? You call a function, you change the state, and boom, it updates. Can you host a Chainlink node on cloud platforms? Yes. Hey, I was wondering, I've been training for work, so I missed the past couple days. What are my first steps? Do I make a team first? No. Go watch the opening ceremony. We explain everything there. Go watch the opening ceremony. Go watch the last workshops. Start hacking now. If you're looking for a team, jump into Find Teammates. Just say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm looking for a team. Don't be afraid to DM people saying, hey, I saw you in Find Teammates. Let's form a team. Right? Jump on a call. Say hi. Get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Where can I find schedule for answers and questions by Patrick? This was impromptu. This was an impromptu call here. Should I watch the replays? Yes. Definitely watch the replays. Thanks, Patrick, for all the answers. I'm really grateful. When I get some money for NFT development, I'm going to donate you. You don't have to do that, right? Your success is my success. Just go on, become incredibly successful. And if you do an NFT project, maybe send me a cool NFT, right? no, I'm kidding. Like, just go out there and have a blast, right? And be successful. And yeah, your success is my success. What about more advanced languages? I saw Chainlink is looking for Golang engineers. A lot of other projects are looking for Rust, etc. So Chainlink Labs in particular looks for Golang because the Chainlink core code is written in Go. Rust is powering Solana, Terra, Polkadot. So that's why a lot of other protocols are using Rust. A lot of those lower language levels that are really performant are really good for the infrastructure pieces. So the language that you use for different smart contracts and different applications depends on the pros and cons of the languages. I almost made it to all the questions. I said 2 more minutes, but 2 more minutes, and then we'll jump off. It's been amazing. Thought this was Glenn. Should I continue with Brownie or learn Truffle also? It's up to you. If you like Brownie, stick with Brownie. Brownie is awesome. I love Brownie. If you don't like Brownie and you like JavaScript more, maybe move to a hard hat. It's up to you. I had trouble getting started, but I would check out developer bootcamp videos or intro to Solidity. The hackathon, it's like a game jam programming challenge, but I'm still going, yes, that is the exact right attitude to have, right? This is a learning environment for everybody here who's new, a really fun, collaborative, environment, and that's a perfect way to end it off. Definitely, go to, let me pull this up on the screen here. Definitely go to hack.chain.link. Scroll down to the calendar, or to the schedule. Hit this view and sync calendar button, and you'll get brought into the calendar. And if you hit this little plus down at the bottom, you'll sync it with your calendar. And you can you'll get all the most up-to-date workshops. And that's where we're going to learn the most and grow the most. So definitely do that. Definitely jump in, jump to the Discord, talk to people, have fun. And yeah, like I said, that's a great way to end this. Thank you all so much for coming and doing an AMA here. I know this was very impromptu because Polygon was scheduled, but they went before, but we still had Polygon scheduled here. So I said, hey, you know what? Let's just do an AMA. And I'm glad people here, felt like they got something out of this. If you guys, if everyone here wants to do another AMA, feel free to post in the Discord somewhere. Hey, we like the AMA. We'd like to see it again. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here, and good luck hacking. Really excited to see what everybody builds, and all the questions about resumes were awesome, and like you are in the exact right spot for doing that and for building and for growing. So huge congratulations for even being here, and I will see you in the Discord. Take care all.